Welcome to FluteSpresso Live today with Amanda Blaikie. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
So good. So great to have you here today on our FluteSpresso Live coffee chat. So first, to our viewers, perhaps you are a FluteSpresso veteran and you've seen all 31, now 32 episodes, or perhaps this is your first time joining us. Either way, thank you for being live with us today. Or perhaps you're watching this recorded later. The way that this works is we are live today because we want you to join in the conversation. So please do type in the chat your comments, your questions, anything for us to address live on the air. And we so much want to encourage you to join live today that we are auctioning off a signed FluteSpresso mug. Amanda signed a mug just like this one.
Yes.
And we will choose one person randomly from the comments to receive that in the mail. And also they will receive a bag of this that we're going to talk about in a minute. So I'm blurring it so they can't see yet for the big reveal. So please do, as you join us here, please do start to comment. Let us know where you're joining from and what you're drinking today. And I'm going to read Amanda's bio while you all get ready, get your coffee ready, and start to type your comments. So this is Amanda Blaikie, known for her sparkling tone and sensitive, expressive musicality. Amanda Blaikie was appointed second flute of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra in 2016 by Leonard Slatkin, and is now the acting assistant principal flute during the 2023 to 2024 season. Previous to the DSO, Amanda held the position of principal flute with the Detroit Opera, Sarasota Opera, Miami City Ballet, and Battle Creek Symphony Orchestra. Amanda has frequently substituted with the New York Philharmonic with special performances, including Carnegie Hall, a live from Lincoln Center television broadcast, and the 2010 Eastern and Western European Tour. An avid lover of chamber music, Amanda is a core musician with Detroit Chamber Winds and Strings, and has also performed with New Music Detroit, Chamber Soloists of Detroit, Cut Time Players, and the Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival. Passionate about teaching, Amanda maintains a private studio and is actively involved in the DSO's community and educational outreach programs. She is a flute faculty member at the National Orchestral Institute and Festival, and is sought after as an orchestral excerpt and audition coach. Welcome, Amanda, to our show, FluteSpresso. I'm going to start with a little cheers. Are you ready?
Thank you. Yes, let's cheers. Cheers. Woo! Specialist mugs.
So where are you joining from and what are you drinking?
I am joining from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and I am drinking the FluteSpresso Lily Willy blend. Actually, I shouldn't say Lily Willy blend, but Lily Willy Coffee Co. FluteSpresso blend. So it has a lovely chocolatey, buttery taste. And this is you can see the logo on the screen, but that's our fun little logo.
Yes. So we are today unveiling our new collaboration with Lily and Willy's Coffee.
Yay!
Yes, our very own FluteSpresso blend. We love FluteSpresso so much. Now we have our own roast of coffee. So tell us all about Lily and Willy's Coffee.
So, of course, most people know me as a flutist, but my husband basically decided to start a coffee roasting company in addition to his work as a realtor. And so he basically started taking courses and reading books and educated himself. And now we have a business we've had about 9 or 10 months. We have a website, and it's just fun to have a family business. It is actually named after our kids. My kids are Lily Claire and William, but it's cute when it's Lily and Willy. So the name of it's a little bit different than their real names, but it's really fun to have a family business and, small but growing. So we're very excited to have our partnership with you now.
We're excited as well. We've, at least I know I have, because I'm someone who's very passionate about coffee, of course.
Yes, you are. I do know that about you.
So we're really excited to have a special FluteSpresso roast.
Yes.
Are you also somebody who's very passionate about coffee? I'm not sure about this.
What's funny is I really hardly drank coffee for most of my life until I met Brett. And I will say that once I had kids, it kind of pushed it also into needing a little assistance when sleep deprived and also needing to stay up late for concerts and being focused. So I don't drink probably more than a cup a day, but I tend to have some most days. And if I have a big concert or something, I might kind of taper it, but I do really enjoy it now. And I've learned a lot since Brett got into this and all about the different flavors and origins and profiles. So it's definitely really something I've gotten much more educated about now than ever before.
Because being a busy working professional flutist and mom is a lot, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, certainly keeps me
It
busy.
is. So we're
Yep.
also really excited to have you here because Flute Specialist is located in Michigan in the Detroit area, and you are at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra,
Yes.
and you're just starting a new position for this season. Tell us about it.
Yes, so it is for 7 months, I should say. It's not the whole season, but it is for 7 months of the season. The first 2 weeks, I was playing second flute for the community concerts and for Daphnis and La Valse in the opening weekend. Last week, I actually took off in order to do the Devian Concerto with the Rochester Symphony, and then I come back in this week as acting assistant principal flute for 7 months. So I'm very excited to have that opportunity to play, different parts and especially mostly first halves of concerts. So I'm very excited. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Is there anything coming up in the season that you're most excited about?
Actually, this week we're doing Rachmaninoff's first piano concerto with Simone Trubczewski, and he's an amazing pianist, and it's such a great concerto. Later in the season, we're doing Bartok piano concerto with Yuja Wang, so that's really amazing because I don't think she's been here since I've been here. So it'll be my first time working with her, period. So that'll be really cool. I do know that I'll also have the opportunity to play Peter and the Wolf. So that's going to be fun. So many good things. We're going on tour to Florida in February. So that's going to be really fun. Yeah. So many amazing things.
I mentioned in your intro that you're sought after for clinicking on orchestral excerpts. So there's something about then actually getting to play Peter and the Wolf after all that
Yeah,
extra time.
exactly. Yeah, I've done it a few times in like a chamber setting with Detroit Chamber Winds and Strings, and actually in December I'll be doing it with cut time players.
Mm.
You mentioned that in my bio. So we're doing a chamber version of it. So I've done it maybe this will probably be my third time doing it, but it'll be very nice preparation for I think it's March when the DSO is doing it for a YPC concert. So it'll
Awesome.
be really nice to do it full orchestration for real with the strings, and, full amounts of violins and everyone. So I'm excited. It'll be great.
That's great. And you've been playing second flute for a few years now.
Yeah.
Do you have any highlights from that time?
Oh gosh. I mean, even Daphnis just last week or 2 weeks ago, certainly a huge highlight. And Yo-Yo Ma, Gil Shaham. I mean, that was
Mm.
just such a huge week of um, of gorgeous music with La Valse and Daphnis. I still remember when Leonard Slatkin was here, we had the French Festival, and that was one of those 3-week intensive festivals. One year it was Mozart, one year it was French Festival, it was American Festival. But of course, French music has so much flute in it that when we did the French Festival, I'm trying to remember what year it was. It might have been 2017 or 2018. It was two full programs a week for 3 weeks, and it was so much, but intense, but amazing. So that was also a
Mhm.
super highlight. Of course, things like Bartok's Concerto for Orchestra, Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony, stuff where there's just great flute, 1 and 2 parts that you
Mhm.
practice forever and you finally get to do.
Have you yet hit a point where something comes up on the list and you go, "Oh, not that again"?
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, even Daphnis, it was my second time doing it, and it's okay, it's both amazing and it just takes I mean, I probably spent 5 or 6 weeks working on it before we had
Mm,
rehearsals. So it takes
mhm.
a lot of that kind of like methodical, gradual, working your tempo up, and then just getting it to a point where you're like, okay, it is ready to go. So it's pretty technical. As gorgeous as it is, it's just pretty technical and
Mhm.
also needs to sound like it's not technical.
Right. And
Yeah.
the thing about playing second flute is you're there the whole time, right? For the
Yeah.
most part, you're
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, so for 2 weeks ago, for opening weekend, I think it was again kinda like the festivals where we had 2 basically different programs. The only thing that repeated was Daphnis, but 2 different concertos, 2 different overtures, La Valse, and then Daphnis. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but yeah, so in the flute section, I was the only one that played everything,
Mhm.
but I didn't have to play principal parts, but still very demanding as far as just volume of repertoire to have ready
Mhm.
at a very high level. So yeah, it definitely took some of my summer vacation to just
Mm,
like get all of that ready,
mhm.
which is
And
fun.
and then, like you said, the next 7 months, you have half the concert.
Yeah, exactly. So now for 7 months, I'll have, usually an overture and a concerto for the most part, sometimes a pops or a YPC. But it'll be a different workload, but yet also totally different role as far
Mhm.
as playing, first flute on those pieces. So it'll be really fun. Yeah.
Mhm. In Detroit, I'm going to mention it again that Flute Specialist is in Detroit, and even though I'm in Iowa right now, I got my degrees at Detroit, and we're very proud of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. You do so much community outreach and so much for the community. We're very proud of the orchestra. I
Thank
imagine you
you.
are as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we do a great, educational community outreach program, and it's something you can kind of contractually sign up for or do it, ad hoc so that, if as things come up, you can pick and choose. And for a long time, especially before kids, I did it contractually, so I was kind of guaranteed a lot of the in school or retirement homes or hospital performances. It was so lovely. I had, weekly students as well. And now just with my schedule with the kiddos, it's more like as I can, I will, sign up for things like, the civic youth ensembles. I will do coachings there and kind of fit it in as it feels, good. But, now that my kids aren't total infants, it's a little bit better. But for a little while there, it was like, wow, this would be really hard to do on top of, you
Mhm.
know, tiny, tiny babies. So
Yes.
yeah.
That's when you get the coffee.
Yep, that's when I get the coffee. Help me just keep going.
And I know this isn't why you do it, of course, but it's always fun driving down Woodward Avenue, and there's those big posters, each
Yeah.
featuring a member of the symphony, and there you are.
They did take mine down,
Oh,
unfortunately.
I haven't been there in a while. Oh, you
Yeah,
got.
there were 2 up for a long time, and then I think, understandably, they wanted to rotate other people in.
Mhm.
So, I think I someone found them in the dumpster and took them out, and I actually have it, but I don't know what to do with it, but I think I'm gonna hide it in my mom's basement and make it like a practical joke on her because I feel like she would appreciate more than life-size headshot of me. But I don't know what to do with it myself.
Any proud mom would enjoy that.
Yeah, right? She's gonna be probably happy to have it in her basement next to her laundry or something.
I love it. Oh, that's fun.
Don't
So
tell
you
her.
brief
Gotta surprise her.
I mean, I cannot tell her, but you are live right now.
Yeah, she might be watching, I don't know.
You briefly mentioned the concerto you just played last weekend. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I had the privilege of playing a concerto with the Rochester Symphony Orchestra here in Michigan. To me, it was kind of serendipitous because I about a year ago exactly, I was just working on this Debian E minor concerto, the number 7, for fun. In addition to my DSO folders of music, sometimes it's really nice to have something in there that's really just flute focused, totally flute focused. And it's one I've had in my, music files, you can see them back there, for a
Mhm.
long time. And I was inspired by my teacher, my former teacher, Robert Langevin, when I studied with him at Orford Music Academy in Canada. I studied with him there 9 summers, and I don't remember which summer it was, but he performed it with a chamber orchestra there, and I just fell in love with it. It's so elegant and charming and has the beautiful turns. It's a little bit different than Mozart, but not quite romantic, so it's kind of like late classical. And so when Rochester, it's kind of funny because I was working on this piece. Hannah Hamill, my lovely colleague, Hannah Hamill Mazer, was doing the Reinecke Flute Concerto and in the community concerts. And it was so fun to support her and play on that with Sharon. And it just kind of was like this feeling like, it's been, a few years since I had done one. The last one I had done was with the DSYO, the youth orchestra, and I'd done the Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto, which was so fun. So anyway, I kind of put it out into the universe. I said, I would love to do a concerto. And I was thinking, especially a Debian. And then I kid you not, within about a month, the Rochester Symphony asked me about doing it this fall. And I thought, wow, that was fast. And I gave them about 5 concertos to choose from. And I didn't pick any of the Mozarts or Ibert because I have done those, and I really thought it'd be nice to do something different and new. And of course, I was really thinking this Devienne, and I also love CPE Bach D minor is one of my favorites too. But as far as programming goes, Devienne might work better for an orchestra that's trying to have more people playing. So in the end, I gave them the choices, but we narrowed it down, and then it was between that and Mercadante, and I said I'd rather do Debian because it was on my stand already. So it was a great night on Friday, getting to play it with the Rochester Symphony, and it's just always so fun to play repertoire that you've been wanting to play for a long time in a totally different way that, normally you're sitting in the back, or in the middle. So it was such a delight to play the Debian concerto. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm going to break for a second. Just remind our viewers that if you have any questions or comments for Amanda, you're telling us some great things about what you're drinking. And Janice is drinking some Lily and Willy's Sumatra blend right now.
Yes, Janice is a lovely flutist who studies with me, and she is a wonderful patron of our coffee. So thank you, Janice, for enjoying your coffee, your Sumatra right now.
And I should say here that there is a website for the coffee.
We finally have a website. Yes.
Yes.
We used to take orders by, Messenger and whatnot, but we do finally have an official website. I don't know if we can type it in, but it is lillywillycoffeeco.com. And I think even if you Googled it, you'd find it. But I'm so happy that as of maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, it is up now and going. So
we'll get it to the comments. I know we will. So that's great. Everybody check it out. And reminder that we have our new FluteSpresso blend that we're giving away to one random person in the comments. So if you want to get your first taste, or maybe for Jan, your regular taste, but of the new, there it is in the comments, of the new blend. And you can get this at Flute Specialists as well, either at Lily and Willy's or at Flute Specialists. So please do comment and ask your questions. And so you mentioned Robert Langevin, and years ago, it feels like a previous life. I studied with you, which is why I'm so excited to have this
at
chat.
Oakland when I was teaching at Oakland.
And you were new to the area.
For 8 years, I taught there. Yeah, and you were a master student.
And you spoke a lot about Robert, I know, in our lessons and in my teaching. So I feel like he's a very big mentor to you.
Yes, huge. I would say certainly, high up there. I did do 9 summers with him in Canada, and then I did the orchestral performance degree at MSM with him in New York. So he's always been like a flute dad to me, because I feel like he saw me growing up as like a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and then just even now we're very close. We keep in touch. I occasionally sub over there. I've been trying to bug him. I'm like, I'd love to check out your new hall now. So he's his teaching and his methods and his exercises I teach, very, very much to all of my students. And I always say, this is a Robert exercise. This is a Robert exercise, and all of his students know how valuable they are, whether it's the tone color exercises or the low register tonguing articulation or all of the millions of extended scale patterns. There are so many. So yeah, huge influence on my playing, and just, the loveliest person, really, truly humble, and just kind of to himself, quiet, but, superstar kind of status.
Absolutely. We'd love to have him on FluteSpresso sometime too. So you just let
Yeah.
him.
I'll give him a nudge. I'll give him a nudge.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And your other teacher that I know you mentioned a lot is Frances Blaisdell. You studied with her as well.
Well, actually, she was my teacher's teacher.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was Dr. Marie Juriat Beamish, who I studied with for 5 years, senior year of high school and 4 years of college. And she studied with Frances Blaisdell, who was in the, I believe, the New York Philharmonic. I should have refreshed my memory on this, but pinky exercise, chromatic exercise, a lot of exercises I just do by memory because she'd kind of write out one example and then you'd have to just sort of transpose it. So I do teach a lot of those as well. Yes.
And you put them into a collection, didn't you, that you sell on your website?
I don't, because I didn't know if her family has the rights to those, and they probably do. And I didn't think it was probably right of me to be selling her exercises, but I did modify her pinky exercise, and I made it actually a little bit easier, but with the same exact like progressions harmonically. So it's almost like step one. And then, once a student has kind of done that, I say, okay, now you can do it the Frances Blaisdell way. But I do teach both. But I didn't. Sometimes I think I have it in Finale, so I'll just kind of hand it out or pass it along virtually. But yeah, I didn't include it because I didn't feel quite right about selling her stuff. And there are so many of her exercises that really ought to be in a book, and I hope are in a book someday. So. Maybe if I ever got, a good feeling about sharing them, I would love to share them. I mean, I just feel like they ought to be out there for her legacy.
Sure.
But yeah, hopefully someday they'll be available to everyone.
You also you have a CD, and you had a Rubank duet project.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You want to talk about those?
So I think on my website, I have MP3s of recordings. In 2020, I was planning on recording an album, and that kind of just went out the window. And I was fairly pregnant that whole year for 9 months of that year.
Not just a little pregnant, you were fairly pregnant.
Yeah. And so it got a little harder and harder as 2020 went along. I was thought, well, it's going to be really hard to record an album when I'm like, out here. But what I decided to do, since, everything shut down, the whole world, but obviously like you go full throttle DSO schedule to nothing. And I thought, well, what can I do to kind of like keep myself going, but not stress myself out too much. And I, of course, at that point, all of my students were virtual, and I had about two, I'd say middle school, early high school students who are working out of the Rubank Volume 1, Advanced Method Volume 1. And I thought, well, they can't play these duets with me. What a shame. So I'll record them. So initially I just did it very casually on like a voice memo. And then I just thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to record all of them, do a little research on each of these composers, record both parts in like a slower tempo, and then record both parts again at the, kind of up to tempo, what you would kind of want to ultimately arrive at. So I ended up doing that as a fun project, and it's available on my website. And basically, like, you can, when you purchase it, you have it for life and you have the access to it, but you can basically play along. So whether or not you don't have to be in Michigan, of course, you can play along to those duets anywhere in the world. In fact, I think I have people from England and Canada and all over the place that have purchased them, which is really fun. So now they're saying, can you please record Volume 2? So that's kind of on my list, is to do the second book and record those duets. So I will do that at some point.
I was going to ask if you have any upcoming projects, also noting that you're starting this new position. So maybe not.
Yeah, probably not immediately. Not immediately, but I do very much want to finish kind of that other book of the Rubank duets. And I still have in mind to do an album, and it's just a matter of the right time. And I had the one kid in 2020, and then I had the other kid in 2022. So, life also got a little bit busier. So, it's not that it won't happen, but it's kind of finding the right time. So I'm hoping to come out with an actual album at some point. Yeah.
So, since you've mentioned it, do you have any advice or maybe inspiration for those flute playing moms out there just trying to do it all?
Oh gosh. Be good to yourself, be patient, and just give yourself credit because, you can't practice the same way you did when you didn't have kids. It's just not possible.
Mhm.
I think you can look at it very, I don't know, pragmatically in the sense that when you're not at rehearsal or not practicing and you're on duty with your kids, just put yourself there and really enjoy it and just, put everything else flute wise aside. And then for me, like today on a Monday or, it's different than if I have rehearsals, but nap time, boom, I am down here practicing as long as I possibly can until those kids wake up. And even if that means they're kind of just hanging out in the crib for a little bit, but I'll try to get an hour and a half to 2 hours at nap time. And then same thing, once they're in bed, I try to get another hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's definitely possible. And I feel like maybe because of needing to prepare everything at such a high level, it's not even like I don't even feel like it's discipline at this point, but it just feels like I just have to do it. It's my job.
Mm.
But in a fun way, in the sense that I want to prepare this music so well.
Mhm.
Of course, when I have rehearsals in a way that helps take care of some of the time on the flute, on the instrument. So there's really like a beautiful pairing in that, when I'm playing the flute or in rehearsal or practicing, I have that time to really enjoy that. And then
Mhm.
when I'm at home as mom, I have really some wonderful time to enjoy that. And so it's like, let's go for a walk, go to the park, so it's almost like you get a nice break from both at different times. But
Yes.
I always feel like I have to just say, good job. You're doing a great job, doing the best you can. And it's not always perfect, but sometimes the dishes just need to wait. And if that makes me feel better about preparing, let's say the Rachmaninoff piano concerto, I'll just do the dishes later. So yeah, it's just kind of like prioritizing it as soon as nap or bedtime happens for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember those days.
And I do have daycare 3 days a week that mostly collide with, the DSO's busiest 3 days. So, of course,
Mm.
those days help a lot and also allow me to do some afternoon teaching as well.
Mm.
So that's
Mhm.
helpful. And I have a lovely husband who's doesn't have the most strict schedule, so there's some
Mm.
help there. And if my mom is in town, sometimes I try to loop her into helping me as much as I can. But for
Mhm.
the most part, Brett and I work it out, which is really helpful
Oh, it's
with the,
amazing.
with the daycare. So
Yes.
go all moms, you can do it. You can
Come on.
totally do it. It's not
Go
easy.
parents.
And it's definitely harder, but I definitely think that it's certainly possible to achieve, a certain amount if you really want to. It's just a matter of saying, okay, this is the most important thing for me to do right now.
Mhm. Yeah. So another thing I really wanted to ask you about, I know you have a background in playing opera and with
Yes.
and that was a major influence on you too. I thought maybe you'd want to
Mhm.
talk about that.
Yeah, so my maternal grandfather was basically what you might consider an amateur opera singer. He was basically professionally trained, but maybe didn't make it, so to speak, because he and my grandmother were very poor in New York City when my mom was born, and it was kind of like get a real job kind of a thing. We need money.
Yes.
So I think he was very sad to kind of give up his dream, um, which he still actually pursued. He worked for I think it was Manhattan Savings Bank and put on all of these Christmas programs and was like kind of like had a radio show and like he did all of this music related stuff for the company. Um, later did a similar thing when he retired and was in real estate with Coldwell Banker. So, but when I was young, I spent every day after school until I was about 9. And he would, I'm sure, purposely sit at the piano and play and sing. And it was just this huge influence on me. I would sit under the piano and feel it, the vibrations on the wood floor. And I just loved hearing him pour out his soul, and I always felt very connected to him. Our birthdays were like one day apart. So I think, I did start off with piano, and he was responsible for getting our family an upright piano, paying for my sisters and my flute piano lessons. And then that whole time I said, I want to be playing the flute. I want to play the flute. I loved piano, but it wasn't like being in love. I loved it because it was music. But we had a lady in our church who had studied and trained at Juilliard with Julius Baker. And so she was like the real deal. And I grew up listening to her play hymns in Sunday school. So I had in my ear for so many years before I played, that's what a flute should sound like. And I just was like, this is what I want to do. It was like, woo, hearts in the eyes. So she was also a huge influence, but eventually I did, finally play in 5th grade. I got my flute, but my grandfather with the opera singing, it's maybe again serendipitous that I ended up playing for 2 opera companies, 5 years with Detroit Opera, and then 2 of those years were also with Sarasota Opera. They kind of dovetailed perfectly. And anytime we do an opera at the DSO, I'm just very excited. So it's pretty rare, these days. But I probably would say it's my favorite of all the classical music genres. Actually, probably would say that opera truly is where my heart is at the most. But you can't go wrong with Daphnis and Chloe and all of these amazing concertos. I truly love all of it, but yeah, big opera influence on my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. So I'm going to make one more plug for Lily and Willy's Coffee. We dropped the link in the comments there. Woo! So do check it out. We now have our very own FluteSpresso blend. We can, in our good Flute Specialist mugs. Cheers again.
Yes, cheers.
So as I get to the bottom of my cup of coffee, I always know that it is time for the FluteSpresso Express round.
All right.
That means we are caffeinated now and we are ready to go and answer a few favorites quickly. So you don't have to explain, but you can elaborate as much as you want. And I'm first going to ask you, what's your favorite opera?
Ooh, good one. Gosh, I've got to say probably Madame Butterfly by Puccini.
I was trying to guess in my head and I was wrong.
I mean, really any Puccini or Verdi, to be honest, are just my go-to. But, I just love opera so much. So really, it's just like, I can't go wrong with all of it. But Puccini is like way up there on my favorites.
Nice. Do you have a favorite concerto?
Well, right now it's the Debian.
Right.
Probably other than that, it would be Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto. I just think it's the most beautiful thing in the world, and I love flute and harp together.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have a favorite place in Detroit to visit, go to, eat, whatever it is? Just a favorite place in Detroit?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to say I really just love downtown because I do spend a lot of time in Midtown. So whether it be going to the opera or a Tigers game or a Lions game or just, walking around and seeing all the new shops and construction, really just spending time downtown. That's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And when you're out in the suburbs, clearly it's Flute Specialists. We knew that. So we moved past it.
I do see you guys a lot. So I'm there like every other week.
Let's see here. Do you have a favorite place to perform? Maybe besides with the DSO, favorite place?
Oh, well, I feel like we're very spoiled at the DSO with Orchestra Hall. Carnegie. Sure. I've been there a few times. So, I feel like that's probably the only other hall I've come across that's better. But even Robert said, I think your hall, the DSO, is one of the best in the world. So
we think so too.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So also it is a holiday today, and we're reaching holiday season. I love October and spooky season and fall. So I just thought I would ask, do you have a favorite Halloween candy? I'm not even sure if you celebrate Halloween, but everybody loves the candy.
Yeah. Oh, anything Reese's Pieces or Reese's anything, the little bunny, not bunnies, but the little anything peanut butter cup.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite holiday tradition? It doesn't have to be Halloween, just through the holidays here.
Ooh, I love Christmas even more now because of the kids. It's
Hmm.
so magical to them. And I've always loved it, of course, but it is so fun to see it from their eyes.
Hmm.
And I would say for me personally, even Thanksgiving, even more so, just because it's such a great family time and the food is always amazing. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think for different reasons. Thanksgiving for me, but because of the kids, I do love seeing, them light up with Christmas and everything.
Lydia's.
Lydia,
See if I can show this one.
can you share some, Lydia?
Yeah. Can you send us some? Thank
The
you.
Halloween is always dangerous because I have a huge sweet tooth and it just like puts it on fire. And then I'm just like, "Whew, I gotta like stop." All the
I
candy.
did. All right, I'm gonna give you one final Flute Espresso favorites, and this one's a slam dunk. Favorite coffee or tea?
Well, definitely Lily and Willy's Coffee Co. for sure. It's small batch, it's considered small batch craft coffee because it's a smaller roaster than most places and it's literally tweaked all throughout the process, unlike a huge large roaster. So I have a lot of respect for the time and creativity in a way that goes into it. So
Mhm.
definitely proud of our little family coffee company. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much for having me.
Yeah, and to talk about your position with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra and also Lily and Willie's Coffee.
Yes,
Cheers.
and cheers to you. Thank you everyone for joining.